إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له واشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى أهله ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We give praise and thanks to Almighty Allah. We ask Him to shower His blessings upon the noblest of mankind, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, members of his household, his companions, all those who have stood, are standing, and will come to stand on this path of Sirat al-Mustaqim. Alhamdulillah, we have not ceased to be treating the book Az-zakaat fi-l-Islaam, Fi-Dh-Dhawi-l-Kitaab, was-Sunnah by Al-Sheikh Sa'id ibn Ali ibn Wahf ibn Muhammad Al-Qahtaani, rahimahullah, who died on Yaum on the 12th of Muharram 1440 after Hijri. Now, alhamdulillah, we got to the part we are taking the zakah on gold and we are taking the zakah on silver. We saw that these two metals, these two ores, that we are to pay zakah on them according to the Qur'an and the Sunnah and the ijma of the scholars, and that what we are to pay on them is 2.5% rubul ushur, 1/10 of 1/4, that is 1/40, that is 2.5% is what we are to pay on zakah. That's zakah. And we are to pay these zakah when these two metals attain their nisaab. The nisaab for gold, we talked about it, 85, the equivalent of 85 grams. That's been what is most commonly quoted. And that which is most commonly quoted for the nisaab of silver is 595 grams of silver. So once we have this quantity, then we pay zakah on them. Then we went to the aspects of the money, the currency that we are spending today. That the deviation from spending gold and silver started a while back in the 90s, in the 19th or the 20th century. And it became, something that is sort of permanent right now. So that deviation saw us spending representative money, which wasn't gold and silver. Didn't have a value in and of itself, but it was backed by gold and silver equivalents to what was written on that representative currency. Then we got to instances where the representative money was not fully covered it was only partially covered. Then we got to the state where we are in now, where it is not representative money. It's not representing anything. It's not representing gold or silver anywhere. It is just a metal. If it's coin and this is just paper or plastic, as the case may be now, and that's it. It just has the government backing that says, spend this money. We have allotted this value to it, not that it has any value of its own. That is why it is called fiat money. Fiat being let it be. And that is it. Let this be $5, and that is it. So the scholars went, because this is a new development. So the scholars went into research and discussing with the people who are experts in the field of economics. And they came out with rulings from this. And important amongst their ruling is that the fiat money we have now is a genes in and of itself. It's a category in and of itself. It is not gold, it is not silver. It is different from these two. However, it shares characteristics with gold and silver. One of the characteristics that it shares with gold and silver is value that has been attached to it. Not that it has any intrinsic value of itself, but value has been imputed on it. And because value has been imputed on it, it is used to set the prices of items. You ask, what is this? You say it is so and so dollars. How much is this? You say it is so and so dirhams. How much is that? It is so and so real. How much is that? It is so and so pounds, yen, and all that. So it shares this characteristic with gold and silver, these two metals that have intrinsic value of themselves. So whether the value is intrinsic or not, the value is there. These characteristics of having a value, whether real or imputed, is there in fiat money. So they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made classified gold and silver as part of those items that are riba-wiyya, that are subject to riba, usury, interest. Riba al-fadl and riba al-nasi'ah. So they say the reason why gold and silver, some of the scholars hold this position, they were about to say that the reason why gold and silver are subject to riba is because of their ability to capture value. They are stores of wealth. They are valuable. They have they store value and wealth. They say this is the reason why gold and silver are ribawiyya. So therefore, if this is the premise upon which gold and silver, riba applies to gold and silver, then any other thing that has these illa also, this premise also will, the same ruling will apply to. So therefore they say, with regards to fiat money, riba also applies to it. Riba also applies to it. So we'll get to more details on that shortly, inshallah. So therefore, riba al-fadl applies to fiat money. That is, you are fadlu is merit. So you give merit to one currency over another denomination or the same denomination of the same currency. This is haram. An example of that is if I want to change 10 dirhams, exchange them 10 dirhams with you, 10 UAE dirhams with you. The only thing that is permitted is for you to give me 10 dirhams and I give you 10 dirhams. We exchange 10 dirhams. It is not permissible for me to say these 10 dirhams that I have is dirty and old. So I want your dirhams. I want your 5 dirhams that is new. So let us exchange. By doing that, I have given fadl to your dirham, your 5 dirhams over mine. So this type is prohibited if they are within the same currency type. Same if you want to exchange $10 for $5, it is haram. It's $5 for $5, $10 for $10. The same thing is what applies to gold and silver. It is the same weight of gold that can be exchanged, the same weight of silver that can be exchanged. If I like the design of yours and anything like that, I can't give it fadl over mine. It has, in terms of weight, it has to be the same. So this is riba al-fadl. Riba al-nasi'a is where I exchange fiat money with you or any of the things that are ribawiya, and we do not conclude everything that has to do with the transaction at that single instance. So for instance, I have dirhams and you have dollars and we want to exchange. We can exchange at any amount. You can give it fadlu. There's no riba in this case. Why? There's no riba al-fadlu in this case. Why? They are not of the same currency. One is dollar, one is dirham. So we can exchange whatever amounts we want. We can give fadlu to the dollar, we can give fadlu to the dirham, no problem, because they are not of the same currency. So, but if you want to conclude that transaction, it has to be hand to hand, the same sitting. It is not permissible for me to give you 10 dirhams and say tomorrow you give me 5 dirhams. No, that is riba and nasi'a. So it applies to gold, it applies to silver, it applies to fiat money and other things that are ribawiyya. So these rulings, were part of the things that we took at the tail end of our last class. So alhamdulillah, now that we know that fiat money is a different category that is zakatable, and that the things that apply to gold and silver apply to it in terms of riba, let us now go to the 6 points that the Sheikh rahimullah asks us to go to. There's a question here. So it is not permissible to give old money for means, like buying means, new fresh notes. It is only permissible for you to exchange old notes for new notes, torn notes for blemish-free notes, stained notes for blemish-free notes, on the condition that there is no tafaddul, i.e. the exact amount, monetary value of the one that is old or torn or stained is the exact monetary value of the new one that you want to exchange with. If you do that, then you're in line with the Sharia. The Sharia, there's no tafaddul in that. There's no riba al-fadl in that. The second condition that must be met is that there must be no riba al-nasi'a in that. And that is, you must conduct the transaction at that instance of time. This is the dollar, this is the dirham. Instant, and you conclude the transaction. So this is only when it's permissible. What people do, I'm going to a party and I want to spray money, I want to, show off and all that. So, but the money that I have with me is old notes. How can I be showing off with old notes? It has to be crisp, notes. So I have 1,000 dirhams and I am going to exchange that with 900 new notes. I will exchange 1,000 dirhams worth of old notes with, brand new dirhams, but 900 dirhams worth of brand new notes. This is riba al-fadl. It is haram. The second question says, so can I pay someone like 100 dirhams for the service of helping me change my dirty 10,000 for a clean 10,000? This is also haram. It is even worse than the first one. In the first question, the person is going direct, is entering the haram direct. The person is entering into the haram directly, is not playing games. This second one, he wants to achieve the same thing, but wants to use an excuse to make it look halal. So what he wants is to exchange old notes for new notes. There's a halal way of doing that. Tell the person, I have old notes. Please give me your new notes. If he wants, he'll give you, alhamdulillah, no problem. Nothing will be added to it, either in terms of the currency that we are transacting, or another currency, or in kind. Okay, I'll give you my old notes, 10,000 dirhams, and I'll collect 10,000 dirhams with you, but I'll help you clean your house. I'll help you make food or something like that. I'll help you drop off the kids at school. That ziyada is the riba. That addition is the riba. So this person doesn't want to go there. So he now says, okay, the riba, I'll call it service fee, that you helped me to change the thing. It's still riba, whatever name we give to it. So it is worse because this person is now trying to employ a trick. So it is similar to another trick that people use. The person wants to collect an interest-bearing loan, but he says, I want to make halal. I want to do it. I want to consume this riba in a halal way. So he goes to the person and says, I have a phone and I want to sell this phone to you for 10,000 for how much do they sell phones? Let's say 1,000 dirhams. Okay, so I'll sell the phone to you 1,000 dirhams. So on the condition that you will, I will buy the phone back from you at a lower price. So he gives him, gives the store owner the phone, and the store owner gives him 10,000. Then he buys back his phone from the same, from the same store owner. Some people use multi-level deception. That store owner will give a third party and say, go and buy it from go and buy it back from that third party. It's still the same thing. So he buys it back either from the store owner or a third party or a fourth party or a fifth party that is privy to the transaction at 800 dirhams. So what has he done? What has he done now? He has given. He has collected 200. What? He has collected 200 dirhams. So that is what he has done. So rather than saying, loan me, what do you call it? Loan me, loan me 800 so that I'll pay you 1,000. He goes through a route and uses the phone as an excuse to try to make halal what Allah has made haram. So, sorry, 1 second. So that is, that I hope it is clear.
One last thing is that I think for this mortgage, so it's said that Islamic banks, they can buy and then sell again to this person who wants the house. Is that also like the same thing in a different
Okay, barakallah fiqh. Are you talking about where, let's say I want to buy a house now?
Yeah. So
I go
if
to
someone wants to buy a house, then going to the bank, then of course they will have mortgage and then it will be with interest over a period of time. But then the Islamic bank, they will buy the house and then they will sell it to the person in question, and then for them it's now profit instead of the interest.
Okay. Now, barakallah fiqh. If the bank buys the house from the developer or whoever is selling the house, if the bank buys the property from the developer or whoever is selling the house, takes possession of it, bears the risk that the person who wants to buy it from the bank may pull out of the transaction. There's no clause in that transaction that forces the person that he must buy. That is freedom for him to say he's not doing again. Then that transaction will be permissible. That is a trade transaction. Somebody goes, so I want to buy a house now. The house goes for, let's say, 1 million dirhams, but I don't have that money now. And the owner of the house is not prepared to let me pay in installments. So I go to an Islamic bank and they say, okay, we will allow you to pay in installments. We will buy the house and sell it to you. But we are going to add a profit, like anybody that buys something and resells it. We will sell the house to you at 1.2 million dirhams. Is that okay by you? He says it's okay by me. Fine. So they go to buy and take possession of the property by being, the owners at that instant of time. No matter how small that instance of time is, they take possession of it, and they now sell to the buyer in a second transaction. That is, the first transaction has terminated. If that is how it goes, then that is, permissible. Not wanting to take that risk of taking possession is where many banks or even individuals run, because individuals and groups, investment groups and things like that, they engage in things like this. This is where they, fall foul of the Sharia. This is where they fall foul of the Sharia. They want to be traders, but they don't want to take the risk that traders are taking. In Islam, the way you transact money are the following. You can gift somebody money, sadaqah, expecting your reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entirely. 2, you can loan the person, expecting your money back and expecting your reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for providing that loan for that period of time to the person. 3, risking. So in the second instance, your money is yours. You are to get your money back. The third instance is you risk the money in a business transaction where it is stated at the beginning what your share of the profits and the loss is going to be. So it's one of this that someone will have to hold on to. If you want your money assured, a loan, give a loan. If you want profit in addition to the money that you've put down for the business, risk it in business. That is what business is. So this is the barakallahu fiqh. Now, As-Sadis, the Sheikh rahimahullah says, حكم ضم الذهب والفضة بعضهما إلى بعض في تكميل النصاب. What is the ruling with regards to combining gold and silver in order to make up the nisab? There are instances of this. One instance is, I have silver that is less than 595 grams. It's not up to the nisab. I also have gold that is less than the nisab, which is 85 grams. Can I combine them to make the nisab? Can I combine them to make the nisab? There's different opinion among the scholars concerning this. We've told us previously the correct position is that you can't, but let's follow this the position of the scholars and arrive and see how they hold their positions, so that we know when somebody holds a different position, we know where he's coming from, we know the strengths and the weaknesses of that position. So here rahimahullah says, قال الإمام الحجاوي rahimahullah, يضام الذهب إلى الفضة في تكميل النصاب. He said in his own opinion, Imam al-Hajjawi's opinion, and scholars like him, he says you join gold and silver together in order to attain the nisab. وتضام قيمة العروض إلى كل منهما. Also, عروض التجارة, trade goods, you join into each one of them. So these are two topics in this quotation, but what meets is in line with the heading is joining gold to silver to meet the nisab, to complete the nisab. Then there's a second topic. How do we join urud tijara, the value of trade goods? Do we join the worth of the trade goods to gold and silver? So that's another topic. We've also taken that one previously too. وقال العلامة محمد بن نوفل المقدسي رحمه الله ويكمل النصاب أحدهما بالآخر في رواية اختارها اختارها الأكثر, says according to the majority amongst them that you join gold and silver in order to meet the nisaab. And it listed a number of scholars that have this, opinion. And in fact, they say also that whether the gold and or silver is hadir or dain. Hadir means you have it in your possession, or dain, you lent it out to someone, you loaned it out to someone, and you're expecting it back, that you are to pay zakah on it. But remember, we said if you give someone a loan, that money, that wealth that you loaned out is only zakatable if you loaned it out to a mali, someone who is wealthy, that does not contest that you gave him a loan, and he will give you back that amount whenever you need it, or at the time when your zakah becomes due to pay. This is when, according to the most correct opinion of the scholars, zakah is upon the money that, or the wealth that you loaned out. And why is that? We told us there that this is because milk and tasarruf are two conditions out of the conditions of zakah that you must have. So someone who loans his money out, he remains the owner. However, he doesn't. If he is not able to exercise tasarruf in it, jurisdiction in it, being able to do it whenever you want, or whatever you want, whenever you want, then he doesn't have tasarruf. You have money, you put it in a bank. They gave you a plastic card in exchange for that. So that plastic card, each time whenever you want, you go to an ATM, you stick it in, and it spits out, part of your money or all your money for you. You have tasarruf in this case. So that is the most correct opinion of the scholars on this issue. Now, so over here, the Sheikh rahimahullah says in his footnotes, it says, اختلف العلماء رحمهم الله تعالى في ضم الذهب والفضة بعضهما إلى بعض في تكميل النصاب إذا لم يكن معهما عروض التجارة على القولين. He says the scholars differ with respect to, are we permitted to join gold to silver in the absence of trade goods, just gold and silver alone? Are we permitted to join them together to attain the nisaab? It says ala al-qawlayn. So whenever you are reading the book of the scholars and they say ala al-qawlayn and they just stop there, or they say wajhain, or what they mean, some scholars can just stop there and just move on to the next thing. Some will go into details to explain what they meant. If they just stop here, they mean they're saying that there are two positions of the scholars, meaning some say yes, some say no. So they don't need to go further to tell you some say yes, some say no. So some will just stop here and say al-qawlayn, and that's it. But over here is going further to say al-qawl al-awwal, the first position is إن الذهب والفضة يضم أحدهما إلى الآخر في تكميل النصاب. The first position is yes, you can join gold and silver together in order to attain the nisaab. I was saying previously that there are there are a couple of instances where those scholars that hold this first opinion look at in joining gold and silver together. One is when I don't have up to the nisaab of either of them. I have less than the nisaab of gold, I have less than the nisaab of silver. One is I have the nisaab or more than the nisaab of one and less than the nisaab of the other. do I still join them together? Also, if I have if I have the nisaab of each of them or more than the nisaab of them, do I join them, together still? So those are the this thing. So the first position is that we can join them. وَهُوَ رِوَايَةٌ عَنْ Imam Ahmad. This is one narration of Imam Ahmad. He has another position. وَهُوَ قَوْلُ الْحَسَنِ. So it lists scholars who hold this opinion. Why? لِأَنَّهُمَا يُضَامُ إِلَى مَا يُضَامُ إِلَيْهِ الْآخَرِ. They say that it's like you say if A is equal to C and B is equal to C, then A is equal to B. So this is the logic that they are applying here. They are saying because it is permissible for you to, according to the majority of the scholars, to join the worth of your trade goods and your fiat money to gold, and it is also permissible for you to join the worth of your trade goods and your fiat money to silver, then it must then be permissible for you to join your gold to your silver. This is the logic that the scholars, rahimahullah, who hold this opinion, rahimahullah, are employing. So they said, fa-yudam ila al-akhar. So if that is the case, then they can be joined to themselves. So they say it is as if, in that case, it would be as if you are joining different subspecies of wheat, for instance, or different subspecies of dates, or different subspecies of cows or camels, together. But we instantly see the weakness in this. They are not of the same species, of the species. Gold is not, gold and silver are not of the same species. So we are not talking of subspecies, maybe, oh, this one is yellow gold, this one is, no. So that is a major fault in that position. لأن النفعهما واحد والمقصود منهما متحد. Another reason they give is that the benefit that you get from them is the same. They are both sources of wealth. They are both used as jewelry. Whatever you use one for, you use the other for. So you can join them together. However, this position is also, this premise is also weak, because the Prophet ﷺ set the nisaab for each of them, and there is not a single record that the Prophet ﷺ, asked people to join gold and silver together in order to meet the nisaab. Rather, what we have is that the Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ فِي مَدُونَ خَمْسَةِ أَوَاقٍ مِنَ الْوَارِقِ صَدَقَةٍ. There is no zakah on what is less than 5 awaq. 1 awqiyah is 40 dirhams. 5 times 40 is 200. So 200 dirhams, which is 595 grams. If you have less than it, the Prophet ﷺ said, there's no sadaqah on it. So someone is now saying there is sadaqah on it if you, in a situation where you have gold or fiat money, if you have gold, if you have gold, and if you join it together, you reach the nisaab of either one of them, then you are to pay zakah. The Prophet ﷺ didn't tell us that. This is, ijtihad from the scholars who hold these position, rahimahumullah. Now, so after holding this opinion that you can join gold to silver in order to meet the nisaab. This necessarily brings up another question, which is how do you do it? We know that the Prophet ﷺ sets the nisaab for gold. We know that the 20 dinar, he also set the nisaab for silver, 200 dirham in weight. So which nisaab are we going to go for? How are we going to attain that nisaab? ثم اختلف من قال بالضم هل يضم الذهب إلى الفضة في تكميل النصاب بالإجزاء أو يكون الضم بالقيمة. Are we going to attain this nisab via fractions, or are we going to attain it via value? And what that means is, if you're going via fractions, if I have half the nisab of silver and I have half the nisab of gold, so if I join half plus half, it becomes 1. So the scholars who hold this opinion, this is what they who hold this opinion that I can join. A part of them say you fractionate. If you add the fractions together and they are equal to 1, then 1 is nisab. So if you have 1/4 of the nisab of silver and you have 3/4 of the nisab of gold, if you add 1/4 plus 3/4, you get 1. So that is the nisab. The weakness of this is that this issue of nisab is tawqifiyya. It's something revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And if someone is going to institute this way of arriving at the nisab, he will need to bring evidence from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some of the scholars, the second group, say we are going to attain this nisab via value, not fraction. So we'll look at what is the value of the nisab of silver, what is the value of the nisab of gold. So if the value of the nisab of gold, for instance, is 10,000 dirhams, and you have 5,000 dirhams with you, and the value for the nisab of silver is 5,000 dirhams, and you have 2,500 dirhams with you, making 7,500, then you have to pay zakah, because you have the worth of half of this and the worth of half of that. So you pay zakah on that. Again, just like in the use of fraction, it is a faulty position. It is a faulty position. So that is the position 1 and 2 here that I've summarized there. One group saying you use the fraction. So one group saying you use the the value. So this is one position there. Now, so remember at the beginning of this segment, they say ala al-qawlayn, that the scholars have 2 positions. Some say you can, some say you can't. So the position that is correct is the scholars that say that you can, and we mentioned the evidences while knocking this one off. The issue of nisab is tawqifiyya. Allah reveals it, the Prophet ﷺ explains it to us, and we stop there, and that is it. Now, so we are not able to go beyond that without evidence like that. القول الثاني أن الذهب والفضة لا يضم أحدهما إلى الآخر. The second position of the scholars is that you don't join them together في تكميل النصاب in order to attain the nisab. فلا زكاة على صاحبهما حتى يبلغ كل واحد منهما نصابا. The one who owns either gold or silver is not to pay zakah until each one of them attains nisab in his possession. Gold attains nisab in his possession, silver attains nisab in his possession, and of course 1 year passes and all the other conditions for payment of zakat applies to him. وَهُوَ رِوَايَةٌ عَنْ الْإِمَامِ أَحْمَدَ أيضا. It's also another position from Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal and Imam Shafi. وَقَوْلُ أَبِي اللَّيْلَ. So he lists other scholars that have this, position. And that's because of the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we mentioned. لَيْسَ فِيمَا دُونَ خَمْسِ أَوَاقٍ صَدَقَةٍ. There is nothing, of sadaqah that is on silver that one owns that is less than 5 awaq, that is 200 dirhams worth. Now, وَلِأَنَّهُمَا مَالَانِ يَخْتَلِفْ نِصَابُهُمَا. And they are two different classes of wealth, and their nisabs are different. One is 85 grams, one is 595 grams. فَلَا يُضَمْ أَحَدُهُمَا إِلَى آخَرٍ. So you don't join them together. كَالْجْنَازِ الْمَاشِيَةِ. So just like in, non-working free-range animals, you don't join them together. You don't join camels to sheep. You don't join cows to camels. So, and all that. Also, another evidence, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى يَكُنْ لَكَ عُشْرُونَ دِينَارٍ. When paying zakah on gold, the Prophet ﷺ said, there's nothing upon you of zakah until you have 20 dinar weight of gold. Now, the same thing, you don't add in farm produce, you don't add barley to wheat and all that. You don't, because they're not of the same class. It's only they are of the same class that subspecies you can add them. Goats of different species, you add them together if you own them. Camels of different species, you add them together if you own them, and all that. Now, so this is the more correct opinion of the scholars on this issue. You do not add gold to silver in order to attain the nisab. Okay, let us from here go to some things that have to do with gold and silver. Gold is dinar and silver is dirham. Now, in the beginning, the Arabs didn't have a currency of their own. They utilized currencies that came to them from different parts of the world. And even here, they were spending Indian rupees and things like that before they had their own, currency. So the same, something like that too during time before Islam. The Arabs, gold coins and silver coins were coming to them from different directions. So it now it was now upon them to have a standard of their own. Now, the Greeks had a scale of their own, a standard of their own for their own silver and gold coins. They call it drachma. That is where dirham was coined from. Drachma, dirham. So it is the it is an Arabicized, pronunciation of the Greek, thing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used it in the Quran. He mentioned dirham, and he was referring to the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. It says, when his brothers put him into the well, and the travelers, the caravan, found him in the well. So, هذا Bushraa, Ya Bushraa هذا الغلام. He said, good news, this is a boy. Allah says, وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ. They quickly sold him off because, they didn't want anybody to find him with them. So وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ. They sold him off for a trivial amount. Darahima ma'duda. This trivial amount was countable dirhams. Darahim, plural of dirham. Darahima ma'duda. So they sold him off for countable dirhams, things you can count perhaps on the fingers of one hand. So dirham is the Arabicization of that. Now, so the using the Greek scale, what you find in the books of the scholars is that the lowest measure in the denomination in the for the Greeks was what you call danik. The plural of that is dawanik or dawani. So this danik is 2 habbata khurnub. So it is 2 habba khurnub, 2 carob seeds. So this 1, 2 of this will, is equal to 1 danik. So 6 of this danik is what makes 1 dirham, 1 darkma. So that will be 12 of these seeds. Since 1 danik is 2 of the seeds and 6 dawanik is 1 dirham, then it's 12 of these seeds that will be found in 6 dawanik. That is 1 dirham. And this is how their coins, work. Allahu a'lam, from what seems to be is that the danik is what the Greek will call obols. Allahu a'lam. Now, the Arabic and the Islamic scale was now formed. The Arabs used their own seeds rather than the carob seeds. So they had barley. So they used barley seeds instead. And of course, as you can see, these carob seeds are heavier, bigger than barley seeds. So the weight, therefore, will also differ from what you have, with like 8.6 grams for 2, what do you call it? For, this is the darkma, 6 obols. So these 6 obols, the obols, I said, is perhaps the danik. So 6 of this form 1 danik. So when you divide that, you get, when you add that those 6 obols together, you get 4.3 grams. So these are bigger. When you get to the use of barley seeds, then they are lighter, and you get a smaller grammage in that instance. So the Arabs now use their own barley in order to set the scale for the gold that was coming to them, to standardize it in their own environment. And this is based on hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-waznu ahli al-Makkah wal-makayil wal-nikyal aw makayil ahli al-Medina. Let me try and see the hadith here. Now, he said, Al-waznu ahli al-Makkah wal-mikyal ahli al-Medina. The hadith is in Sahih Abi Dawud and Sheikh Al-Albani. So it says the measuring scale that is acceptable, that the Sharia accepts, is the measuring scale of the people of Mecca, the Quraysh. And the scholars say this is because they were primarily traders. Allah says, Rihlat ash-shita'i was-sayf. They travel back and forth, summer and winter, to trade. So they were experts in the art of standardizing gold that comes to them from different parts of the world. Whereas the people of Medina were primarily farmers. So the Prophet ﷺ said, wal mikyal, measuring scale. In this, with gold is weighing scale. Whereas with farm produce, it's volume-based measurement, not how heavy it is, but how full it is. So the farmers are in Medina, and they are experts in volume assessments. So that's which the Sharia accepted and incorporated is the scale, the measuring scale of the people of Medina, the volume-based measuring scale of the people of Medina. Now, so from the Arabs, like I said, had many different currencies coming to them of gold and silver. But the most popular ones were the one you called the dirham, At-Tabari, and let me see, right? Now, 1 second, please. Okay. Dirham al-Tabari and Dirham al-Baghli. So the Dirham al-Baghli is larger, and the Dirham al-Tabari is half of that. So what the Arabs did, or rather the Arabs will measure, like we said, using barley seeds. But when Islam came, it was further standardized that the 8 and the 4, the Dirham al-Baghli coming from Persia and Dirham al-Tabari coming from Tabaristan, also Persia, in present-day Iran, these were standardized, they were merged together, and the average was found at 6. So that is why we have 6 over here, and we have 0.496. So we'll go back, let's take this calculation over here. The Danik, which is the smallest denomination, is made up of 8 habbat or sha'ir, 8 seeds of barley, when you're going by the Dirham al-Baghli. So these 8 seeds of barley together, they weigh 0.496 grams. So the most commonly quoted value. So we appreciate here why there's a difference in the quotations, because all barley seeds are not created the same. The seeds of any plant, they are not created the same. There will be variation. And indeed, even in the grammage that we use today, any scale that we use, they have errors in them. So there's always a margin of error for any equipment that you utilize. So in this one too, there are margins of error in them. So that's why you have the different quoted, the variation in what is quoted. We stick with that which is commonly quoted, 595 grams for for silver, 85 grams for gold. So 8 barley seeds is the smallest on the scale, and that is 0.496. So 6 of those danik will be equal to 1 dirham. So 4 times 6 will mean 48 barley seeds. So that's your 0.496, multiply by 6, you will get this amount, 2.976. What is the nisaab for dirham? It's 200 dirhams. of silver, 200 dirhams weight of silver. So if you multiply that 200 by the weight of 1 gram of 1 dirham, by the weight of 1 dirham, then you get 595.2. What is commonly quoted is without the 0.2, added to it. So that is, how that is arrived at. And this is the position of the majority. For the Hanafi, Abu Hanifa, the Abu Hanifa school of thought, they put these 8 seeds not at 0.496 grams, but at 0.521 grams. So that is why their own nisaab is higher. By the time you multiply this by by 6 and 200, then you get 625.2. So this is what they use as their value for the nisaab. So if you have this with them, then you are not paying the nisaab. And they are where the law of the land goes by the Hanafi madhab. If you are in that land and you hold the opinion that you're to pay at 595 grams, then you must pay at 595 grams, even though the administration does not come to collect from you because they deem that you do not have up to the nisaab. But it's based on what you are convinced about. So what about the reverse? Remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, you should concede to your zakat, collectors. Ardu musaddiqikum. Please your zakat collectors. So you know why there's difference of opinion. You know that there's difference of opinion on this issue and why. So if they go for 595 and you think it is 625, you go with them. Ardu musaddiqikum. So there are other values out there that are quoted like 612 and all that. So we just go with that which is most often quoted, which is 595 grams. So during the time, so this was standardized, especially during time of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. The scholar says, وَكَانَتْ الدَّرَاهِمْ في صدر الإسلام صنفين. The dirhams that the Muslims had at the very beginning of Islam were of 2 types. At-Tabariya wa kanat sud. Basically what we have said, you had the Tabariya type and you had the Baghali type of dirham, being the 2 most preponderant ones that came to the Muslims. Anna Abdul Malik ibn Marwan daraba dananir wa darahim sanata khams wa sab'in. In the year 75 Hijri, some say 77 Hijri, the Khalifa of the Muslims, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, decided to mint the Muslims' first gold coins and silver coins. So prior to that, they were using those from outside, like we have said. Some say during the time of Umar, he had some of their kufru inscriptions removed and replaced with those of Islam. There's different opinion of the scholars regarding that. This has to do with more of tariq, history. So it's less it passes through less scrutiny than a hadith would pass through. So some of the scholars say that happened during the time of Umar bin al-Khattab. But however, what everyone is agreed upon is that the standard Muslim dinar was used minted during the time of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan via an order that he gave to Hajjaj ibn Yusuf al-Thaqafi. And the dirham that was produced then initially looked like this. And this was supposed to be the image of Marwan, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, holding his sword, his sheathed sword. So of course, because of the hadith on prohibition of images, this didn't last long. It wasn't accepted amongst the Muslims, so it was replaced with these ones, where the verses of the Quran and the Shahada, La ilaha illallah, were added, were inscribed on top of it. So this is the history of how the dinar, came about, and this continued from the dirham was first minted 66 years after Hijrah, and Gregorian calendar, that is 685, the year 685, and the first dinar of the Muslims was minted in the year 77 after Hijrah, and that is 696 after Hijrah. 696 of the Gregorian calendar, and it continued that way until 1337 Hijri. That is 1918. That is 1918. So this is the scale of the Muslims. Now, another thing that we should know is that the dirham to the dinar has a scale in measure of, in weight of 1 dirham is equal to 0.7 dinar, which is the same thing as 7 dinar will be equal to 10 dirhams. 7 dinar will be equal to 10 dirhams. So this is the equivalence of dinar to dirham during the time of Prophet ﷺ till today. It doesn't change. And there's ijma of the scholars on this. This is in terms of weight, not in terms of value. In terms of value, it changes and has continually changed over time. It is set by market forces. But the weight conversion is 1 dirham weight of silver equals 0.7 dinar weight of gold. However, if you are looking at the price, then their conversion rates, price-wise, during the time of Prophet ﷺ was 1 to 10. 1 dinar equaled 10 dirhams. During the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, 1 dinar equaled 12 dirhams. So it's market forces. By the time of Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, if I remember, it was like up to 20 dirhams for 1 dinar. So these are the equivalents with respect to dirhams and dinars. But we'll ask ourselves that why are we going to this detail about dirhams and dinars, their equivalents and all that? Because there are things linked to them in the Sharia. And we'll go to them briefly so that we don't forget. When you are calculating how much gold and silver you have and the market price of that, especially for women that have gold and silver in jewelry form, you do not add the making charges to the price of the gold. And that is what that means is that if you go to buy gold coins, for instance, there's no making charge. When you go to the market, there's what they call making charges, i.e. the cost of designing the gold into the jewelry form that you have. But the coin is the coin, it's just the market price. So what you have to go by is the market price of the, so if you want to buy jewelry, they tell the market price, then they'll add the jewelry making charges to it. That jewelry making charge, you don't add it to the worth or the value of the gold or silver. You don't add it to it. Just the market price of gold on that day that your zakat is due. Now we ask ourselves, why are we going into this detail about 7 dirham, is equivalent to 10 dirham is equivalent to 7 dinar. 0.7 dinar is equivalent to 1. That is. So why are we going to this? Because there are many things that we do in Islam, or crimes that we might fall into in Islam, the opposition to the Sharia that will fall into, that are determined by the price and weight of dirham and dinar, by the price and weight of dinar and dirham. So one of them is zakat. We've treated that. You pay 2.5%. The nisaab is 200 dirhams. For silver, that's 595 grams. For gold, you pay 2.5% if you have 20 dinar weight of gold, which is 85 grams and above. So the second thing that has to do with dirham and dinar is diya. Is diya, sorry. That is blood money. Blood money. If you kill someone unintentionally, if you kill somebody intentionally, then the default is that you be killed, except the family of the murdered person decide to collect blood money from you. But the default is that you be killed. If you kill someone mistakenly, then that is manslaughter. It is not murder. The default is that you pay blood money. You can't be killed for manslaughter in the Sharia. In the Sharia, there are 2 types of manslaughter. There's the ordinary manslaughter, and there's the manslaughter that is called al-khata shubhul amad. It is by mistake, al-khata, but it resembles an intentional an intentional act, that is murder, but it is not murder. i.e., in this second category, you use something that can kill, even though its primary purpose is not for killing. For instance, you beat somebody and the person dies. So a stick can be used to kill somebody, but that's not the primary function of the stick, which is different from you stab somebody. The primary function of stabbing or shooting someone is to kill the person. Those two, are used primarily for that. So that one is murder, and the person is to be killed. The authorities will handle that person and kill the person, except the family of the deceased decide to take blood money. So this blood money, the default is 100 camels that one is to pay, according to hadith about a letter that Prophet ﷺ wrote to the people of Yemen. So it's 100 camels. However, the scholars during the time of Prophet ﷺ put the dirham and dinar value of that. So they say, according to that time, 100 camels was equivalent to 200 cows, which was equivalent to 2,000 sheep. So killing somebody is not, a joke, whether, mistakenly or not. I should explain that the one that is ordinarily mistake is maybe you were playing with somebody, you hid, he didn't see you, and you just came out and scared him, which you shouldn't do, and the person collapsed out of fright and died. Just saying boo does not ordinarily kill somebody. You know, it's not a default means, it's not even a secondary means of killing somebody. So that is, you know, an ordinary mistake. So you pay 100 camels with that. But if it is al-khata, shub al-amad, that's the instrument you use is a secondary tool for killing. It's not a primary tool for killing. Like you punched somebody and the person, you know, died. Then this is shub al-amad. Then in that case, you pay the 100 camels, but 40 out of those 100 camels will be pregnant. 40 out of those 100 camels will be pregnant. Said, مئة من الإبل منها أربعون في بطونها أولادها. So 40 of them will be pregnant. So it's more, and not only that 40 of them will be, pregnant. You also pay, you know, instantly, just like in the case of the willful murderer, who the family of the deceased have accepted that he pays blood money rather than his life be taken. They pay instantly. However, in the case of ordinary, you know, manslaughter, and there's nothing ordinary about it really, it will be spread out over 3 years. It will spread out over 3 years. The point that brought us here was the dirham and the dinar value of 100 camels. So the dinar value is 1,000 dinar. That's, heavy, amount of money. The nisaab is just 85 grams. It's just 20. Yes, 85 grams is 20 dinar. So that 20 now is 500 times now that you're going to pay for, for manslaughter. And if it is dirham, at that time of the Prophet ﷺ, it was equivalent to 12,000 dirhams. Of course, these values don't necessarily hold today anymore because the market value has changed. It hasn't reduced. So someone who, commits murder or manslaughter now, what remains constant is 100 camels. So the market value of 100 camels is going to be found. And he will pay that. And most likely it will be far in excess of 1,000 dinar and far in excess of 12,000 dirham. So we need to be careful, especially for those of us who are driving, for those of us who drive. Now, another reason why we need to know the dirham and the dinar and the conversion is sadaq, the bride price of a woman. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ said, khayru sadaqa aysaruhu. The best of bride price is the easiest to pay, the most convenient. Because you eat something after you do the sadaq. So it's not that the man will give you everything that he has, or even borrow, as many people do, to pay the bride price. And after the following day, you'll plead with the woman to loan him, what he will end up giving back to her for housekeeping and all that. No. So the best is that which is easiest, as the Prophet ﷺ said. The hadith is in Al-Hakim and Al-Bayhaqi, authenticated by Imam Al-Albani. That said, for somebody who has the means, and in addition to having the means, he wants to pay the bride price of the Prophet ﷺ, the bride price that the Prophet ﷺ gave to his wives. or the bride price that the Prophet ﷺ, that was given to the daughters of the Prophet ﷺ. He wants to do that. Now, this can also be relative. In certain times and in certain, locations, it's maybe something, easy to offer. It may be something that is up to nothing, according to what the people in that society, hold as something valuable. And it can be something really expensive. It depends. What should guide is what the Prophet ﷺ said here. The best of mahars is the one that is easiest to give. But to know and apply when it is, appropriate, we know we want to know the mahar of the Prophet ﷺ that he paid to his wife and that was placed to his, for his children. So that for his wives, the Prophet ﷺ paid 500 dirhams. 500 dirhams, which was more than the nisaab. The nisaab was 200 dirhams for silver. So the Prophet ﷺ paid 500 dirhams to each of his wives. The nisaab, the sadaq, the bride price that was paid for his children, his female children, was 400 dirhams. Now, so, and what we said, this varies. In some societies and in certain times, it could be less than what will be meaningful. It could be up to it at other times, and it could be more, and in fact, an excess in certain times involving certain people at certain locations. By context, 1 gram, as at the beginning of last month, 1 gram of silver, pure silver, was 3.1 dirhams. So if you want to give the sadaq of the Prophet ﷺ, that's 500 grams times 3.1 dirhams. That's 1,550, UAE dirhams. In the UAE, that will not count for much. But still today, if you are to go to certain countries, you'll be multiplying that by like 200, 210, 500, and more in certain places. That's a lot of money in those countries, amongst those people. So everything will be put into context. Also, if it is 400, the sadaq of the children of the Prophet ﷺ, that will be 1,240 UAE dirhams, as at last month, going by the market price. If you go for gold, then this is the market price, 247 for 1 gram, last month. So if we go for the conversion rates of 1 dinar is equal to 10 dirhams, then you will see that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the market price was 1 dirham to, in terms of prices now, in terms of prices, the market value at that time, it's 1 dinar is equal to 10 dinar. 1 dinar is equal to 10 dirhams. Now, 1 dinar is equal to 79.8. It's over 79. It's over 7 times, more. So if you are giving somebody, this value back then during the time of Prophet ﷺ, it will have more value than, now. Another instance where we need to know dirham and dinar is with cutting the hands of the thief. The Prophet ﷺ said, "La tuqta yadu sariq illa fi rubu dinar fasa'idan." There's no cutting of the hand of the thief to be done if he steals less than 1/4 of a dinar. So what the judge of the Sharia courts will do, not the lay people, you and I, that apprehend him. We don't have jurisdiction to do that, to cut anybody's hands. So what the Sharia court will do is assess the market value of what was stolen on that day. Then assess dirham value on that day that he stole. At that time period that he stole, what was the market value of the dirham on that day? And dirham is silver. So if 1/4 of 1 dirham, the value of 1/4 of 1 dirham on that day was equivalent to or more, equivalent to or less than what he stole, then his hands will be cut. If the price of a quarter, the value of 1/4 of 1 dirham of silver, and the market, on that day is not, is more than what he stole, then there will be no cutting of the hand. I.e., what he stole, if it's less than the value of 1/4 of a dirham, then it will not, his hands will not be cut. It is going to be judged not by the day that the ruling is given, or by the day that the thief was apprehended. No, it's on the day and the time when the item was stolen, because the thief could be apprehended, a month after, a year after, 10 years after. So it is to be judged by the market value on the day and the time when the theft occurred. Another reason why we should know the dirham and the dinar conversion rates is kafaratul wat'i haid. Kafaratul wat'i haid. If a man does the despicable thing of having intercourse with his wife while she is in her menses, then he has to pay 1 dinar or half a dinar as sadaq. As kafara. He has to pay 1 dinar or 1 dinar, dinar or half a dinar as kafara. 1 second, please. So, if he does this, then he has to pay 1 dinar or half a dinar. So he goes to the market to find the price of this dinar on the day. If what he finds is the market price of the dirham, then he already knows the conversion rate. 0.5 dinar is equivalent to 1 dinar. That is 7 dinar is equivalent to 10. 0.7 dinar is equivalent to 1 dirham, and that is 7 dinar is equivalent to 10 dirhams. So he does the conversion and looks for the market price, of gold. If what he found was the market price of, silver, like that. Another angle where gold and silver come into play is riba. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Ad-dhahab bil-dhahab." Gold is to be exchanged for equal amount of gold. Al-fidda bil-fidda. Silver is to be exchanged for equal amount of silver. Al-burr bil-burr. Wheat for wheat. Al-sha'ir bil-sha'ir. Equal amount of barley is to be exchanged for equal amount of barley. Or tamar bil-tamar. The same thing with dates. Or milh bil-milh. The same thing with salt. Mithlan bi mithlin. These things their their volumes or their quantities must be the same. Sawa'an bi sawa'an, their description, in terms of weight and all quantity must be the same. Yaddan bi yaddin. So, and it must be hand to hand. I.e., sawa'an bi sawa'an, there should be no riba al-fadlu. Yaddan bi yaddin, there should be no riba al-nasi'a. فَإِذَا اخْتَلَفَتْ, if you are exchanging gold for silver, not gold for gold. If you're exchanging silver for wheat, not wheat for wheat or silver for silver. إِذَا اخْتَلَفَتْ, if they are different, هذه الأصناف فبيعوا كيف شئتم, then sell them however you will. So tafaddul is accepted in that case once they are different. إذا كان يدان بيد, once you conclude in the same sitting. Then I think this is the final one. Yes. حلق رأس المولود وتصدق بوزن شعره من الفضة. Shaving the hair of a newborn and giving sadaqah with the hair's weight in silver. You shave the hair of the boy and you weigh it, whatever its weight is, you look for the price of the equivalent weight of silver in the market and you give it out in sadaqah. If there's a situation where you can't shave or you fear that shaving will harm the child, then you estimate, as the scholars say, and you give the equivalent in silver out in sadaqah. This is mustahab. It is not compulsory. Based on the hadith where Ali ibn Abi Talib said, "Aqqa Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam anil Hasan bi sha'r." The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam did the aqiqah of Al-Hasan, his grandchild, Ali's son, with a sheep. Waqal, and he said, Ya Fatima, O Fatima, that is the boy's mom, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam's daughter, ahliqi raqsah, shave his head, wa tasaddaqi bi zinati sha'rihi fiddatan, and do sadaqah with the equivalent of his hair in silver. So inshallah we'll stop here. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruk wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.